Clementine will remember that. Those are some of the most iconic words in gaming history, and for good reason. For about a decade straight, I had this tradition where I'd play every Telltale game and see how my decision making has changed over time. Between that and playthroughs with friends, I've probably played season 1 of The Walking Dead about 24 times. The words Clementine will remember that are laser burned into my memory. You know Javi home wrecking his brother through memes, but I lived it.
Kate's gonna leave your ass. What? She told me so.
Honey! That is my husband. We are married, in case you forgot. That's for life.
3 hours later.
This nigga serious?
So, cards completely on the table here. What? I almost exclusively play single player games where I can kind of play as myself. I love games where you influence the story. And it all started with a little title called Mass Effect. Playing Mass Effect for the first time was like a canon experience for me. I can't even remember what my favorite game was before that. And Bioware was so in their bag back then, every individual decision felt like it was important because so many of them carried into the subsequent games. Choosing between Ashley Williams and Kanan Alenko on Vermeer was like choosing between your thought daughter and your gay son. I haven't seen their full potential yet, but I had so much time to love them. Nowadays, everything takes like 5 times longer to come out, so it's easy to forget, but do you have any idea how crazy it was that they had these stories with thousands of different variables that spanned multiple games? And they didn't do it just once. Video games are special because very few forms of entertainment put you in the driver's seat for conflict. I can watch Guardians of the Galaxy 20 times over. No matter how many times I do, I still can't make out with Nebula. He just like me for real. These choices are super important to the narrative the writers are trying to convey. They're like little gears turning to make things function. See, I bet you didn't even see me here. It got me thinking about what makes these stories so compelling. What makes a choice feel good? So spoilers ahead for the following games. How'd that get there? For some context, I'm working on a video for Dragon Age: The Veilguard, and it got me thinking about how these choices can make or break the quality of the story. Games like Undertale, Baldur's Gate 3, and most Bioware games are defined by the choices you can make in them. Sometimes it's these deep, thought-provoking moral dilemmas that force you to look inward. You question who you are as a person, and then there's Fable 3, where you choose if you're going to build a school for orphans or a strip club. I already know which one you pick. Don't lie now, you can't take it back. Something you've probably heard ad nauseum the last few years is the illusion of choice, a cognitive bias where individuals believe they have more control or options than they actually do. Every Telltale game starts with a line that tells you the story is tailored to your choices. And for as much as I love those games, that's kind of a big effing lie. The Walking Dead shows this issue in full effect. You probably make thousands of individual choices over those 4-point-something seasons, but they will always take you to the exact same points. Nothing you do or say in the game will change the story ending and lead dying in this room, which is why people call it the illusion of choice. You made a lot of choices, but nothing actually changes at the end. I kinda have a bone to pick with that though. I do think the game is a little misleading, but I don't necessarily think the illusion of choice is always a bad thing. At the end of every episode and season, they show you the choices you made compared to other players, and this is honestly one of the best parts, especially because you can grade how well written the episode's choices are, usually by how close to the middle the line is. Yeah, the stories might go to the same conclusion, but no two journeys are the same, and there's something fun about hearing people's reasons for doing the things they do. It adds to the experience. People are still debating whether or not Kenny is a good person over a decade later, because your experience can be so incredibly different from another. Another example is Mass Effect 3. During the campaign, Shepard is forced to fight one of the Elusive Man's henchmen, a Cerberus assassin named Kai Lang. He kills one of Shepard's friends and potential romance partners, Thane Krios, just at the end of his character arc. It's especially heartbreaking because you know that Thane has an incurable illness, and you just met him at the hospital where he basically gives you good news that he survived a lot longer than he ever anticipated. No matter what you do, Shepard has to kill Kai Lang in order to progress the plot. But as you're taking the plan Cerberus stole back, a choice is presented to you.
For Thane, you son of a bitch.
Now, whether you actually press the button or not, Kai Lang still dies here, but that's not really the point. This guy is like a cockroach. There's nobody on Earth who likes Kai Lang. This choice does absolutely nothing apart from fulfilling your Commander Shepard power fantasy. It puts you in the shoes of Commander Shepard in a way that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. Commander Shepard kills Kai Lang not just because he works for the Elusive Man. The player kills Kai Lang because they're personally invested in the bad things that he's done. While I'm probably the biggest Bioware apologist there is, this isn't always a good thing. Persona 4 Golden is one of my favorite games of all time. And for as much as I love them, the worst part of all of those games is the horribly unimportant dialogue options. Any words you say are completely completely irrelevant. The level of your social link, whether you're dating someone or not, if you've never even spoken to each other, none of it actually matters besides giving you a little interactivity with cutscenes that are essentially a high-budget visual novel. This is what Ann Takamaki says when she's not dating the protagonist.
You got a boyfriend?
Nope, never have either.
Did you catch that? This is what Ann Takamaki says when she is dating the protagonist.
You got a boyfriend?
Nope, never have
This
either.
is serious?
And the same is true for every social link. You could be best friends with each other or be at each other's throats, and it doesn't affect the story at all minus the player's general experience. This doesn't knock them any major points for me, but over time it does bog down the experience and leaves you feeling really unsatisfying. I think that's the word I'll use, unsatisfied. The illusion of choice more often than not will leave you feeling unsatisfied. These are literally choices that just don't matter. I think any choice-driven story will be objectively better when they make you think. I'll never forget the first time I played Undertale. My first playthrough, Toriel was my favorite character in anything ever. I remember going through the ruins and realizing after killing like 3 froggets that I could spare the characters I fight. So I make the decision to leave Toriel's house, and she says,
You wanna leave so bad? You just like the rest of them, you know. There's only one way to fix this. Prove yourself. Prove to me you're strong enough to live.
I don't know any women voice actors, so you have to listen to men say that. I try to spare her and nothing happens. So I think to myself like, okay, this is scripted. I'm gonna finish this fight and she'll be alive. My jaw hit the floor. I felt like garbage. I hopped straight to Google and looked up, like, can you save Toriel? I found a GameFAQs article that said you could spare her under super specific circumstances. So I restarted the game and got back to it. I make my way back to Toriel, and this time I spare her. I leave the ruins to start the story, and the game literally clocked me. This was the first time any video game ever had made me feel this way. Like, the choices I made actually affected me. And it made me terrified to play the rest of Undertale. I got to that scene where like Sans is following you, and the second he broke that branch, I started tweaking. It seems like a no big deal nowadays, but this made 18-year-old me's hair stand up. I felt uneasy. Going from that to Snowden, where Sans is like sneaking up on you, actually made me jump because I felt like the decisions I made actually meant something. It made me so much more intentional with everything I did. This is what I like to call a moral choice. The options I was given tested my morals and empathy, rather than providing mechanical buffs or temporary illusion. Undertale is one of a handful of games where I can never bring myself to do anything even kind of evil, because the game succeeds in putting you in the driver's seat. You care about these characters and realize they each exist independently of you. So well, in fact, that killing them actually makes you feel bad. Which is kind of weird when you think about it, right? At the end of the day, it's literally just pixels on a screen, but that's the power choice and interactivity can give you. An example of a mechanical choice is like speccing the Dragonborn or the characters from Baldur's Gate 3. Your stats may affect certain things in the story, but the choice is centered on how you want to play. Speaking of which though, I think Baldur's Gate 3 balances these very well. In the circus in Act 3, you can interact with a genie who's giving away prizes for a spin in a wheel. If you're good at investigating, you'll notice he's rigging the game in his favor, like every carnival game ever, by the way. You can actually con the genie and win the game, but obviously he pegs you immediately because he knows that you cheated, because obviously, how'd you win the game? He's cheating. As punishment, he will teleport you to a random island that is inhabited only by dinosaurs, where you have to survive all on your own against some high-level monsters. But when you get to the portal that sends you back, there's actually a chest with actual good loot he's been hiding there. You screwed the genie over because he's a tool. It's what you probably wanted to do, and in doing that, you get the best trident in the game. You get where I'm coming from with this? This was a moral choice that also doubles as a mechanical choice, and there's actually a real-world equivalent to this. It's liking and subscribing to my channel. Let's be real, you made it this far. Come on now, let's not be selfish here. Cough it over, cough it over. So why does any of this matter? Well, it kind of doesn't, sort of, maybe. Hood gone wrong. Player choice equals player freedom. At the end of the day, most forms of entertainment are just power fantasies, getting the chance to do something that we otherwise wouldn't be able to. When developers give players the chance to make decisions, it really gives you the chance to be you. Characters like The Sims or the Dragonborn are completely blank slates. You mold who they are, and characters like Commander Shepard, Clementine, and I guess by that definition, Hawk too, huh? Their personalities are mostly already set. The decisions you make are like picking through their thoughts, things they equally have a chance of doing, both of which make for varied stories and a different kind of immersion. Most of the fun of creating a character in something like Dragon Age is the varied experiences you'll get because of it. I've spent more time in these character creators than I care to admit. If you haven't gathered by now, Baldur's Gate 3 has easily become one of my favorite video games of all time, and my first canon world state is a Dark Urge origin named Art Carrion. If you play this game right, you should run into the most obvious plot twist of all time, Astarion. Astarion is a vampire who loses all of the drawbacks because of the Mind Flayer parasite. It's his first time experiencing freedom in over 200 years. Side note, why doesn't anyone in this game clock him for this? Dude is so obviously a vampire. I feel like everyone else is actively dumber for not noticing until he tries to feed on you. He is this way because he was turned by a vampire lord named Cazador Zar. Cazador is literally built up as one of the most evil villains in the whole game, which is kind of funny because he sounds like this.
Right this moment, in whatever rat hole he is cloistered.
He uses his power to turn people into slaves whose only purpose is to find more slaves through sex trafficking as well as other means.
He was a monster to us all, but did take special pleasure in my pain. He said my screams sounded sweetest. And now that I'm gone, I don't know.
Even though the parasite is an objective bad thing long term, Astarion welcomes every buff it gives him because it gives him something he's never had: power. As you're approaching the final act of the game, you know that at some point your paths are going to cross with Cazador.
But if I don't confront him someday, I know I'll spend the rest of my life running from him.
When that happens, you find out he wants to perform a sacrifice of all the people they've turned over the last few centuries. For the first time in his life, Astarion is forced to see the effect all of his actions have had on others.
You. I know you. You're the one from the tavern. You smiled and joked and got me drunk.
No. You're dead.
You called me so many sweet things. My name sounded like a lyric on your tongue.
Sebastian.
You remember me.
You were handsome. Shy. You'd never been kissed.
You taught me how. And then you destroyed me. How long have I been down here?
170 years. You were one of my first.
My family. My friends.
They were done for the sake of self-preservation, sure, and a lot of them he wasn't even lucid for, but he still did them. There's still the question about Cazador though. He's one soul away from completing the ritual, over 2,000 victims in eternal torment, and all he needs left is Astarion. The choice is obvious, we have to kill him. But what if we didn't do that? What if that power went towards our purposes? I mean, it'd be a shame for all of their lives and trauma to go to waste, right? Their families are almost definitely gone. And if we let them go, we'll have thousands of hungry vampires out in the city. We are fighting for the entire fate of Baldur's Gate. We need every chance we can get. And it seems only poetic that Astarion finally gets the chance to reclaim the power and autonomy he had stolen from him for all of these years. Right? All we have to do is say yes. This choice really makes you think. And hearing all of the inhumane tortures Cazador puts him through, you can't help but understand, even if you know what he's doing is wrong. There's so much emotional weight presented here. That weight comes when writers and developers make an experience that really makes you say, what would I do? Players are presented with a choice of what is right versus what is fun. So why doesn't every video game do this? Well, the short answer is, it's hard. And making the player care is even harder. Let's use another game I love as an example, Skyrim. It might have been too long since my last playthrough of Stealth Archer Simulator, the game that'll never get a sequel, but it feels like every choice boils down to which magic weapon do you want, and what flavor text do you want the interchangeable guards to say today. Psst. Hail Sithis. Now, we love Bethesda games, and by we I mean yes, we, you too, but they highlight the reason why it's so hard to implement this. In a video game, every single movement you make is a player choice. When going into a story, having to take decision making into account, it's a nightmare from a coding perspective, and a writing perspective, and an animating perspective. The amount of people, talent, and time you need would take a crap ton of resources to make even kinda realistic, let alone a story spanning multiple games. For reference, during my freshman year of coding, one of the first assignments I had to do was a choose your own adventure in Python. I love writing, I love storytelling, but this simple text-based game with zero visuals took me a whole week, and even then it still was hardly functional. That's not even accounting for the work necessary to make it compatible with the hardware of several different devices and systems. So this brings up a conflict that affects media as a whole, not just video games. In a world where it feels like every movie, TV show, and game takes 3 times longer to come out than it used to because of shifting standards, what do we want prioritized? Quality, once-in-a-lifetime experiences based in passion, drive, and love, or simpler, more consistent, milder experiences that run the risk of passion burnout? Well, why not both? Does everything need to reinvent the wheel? Does everything need to come out at the same time? The answer is no. Art will always be worth it when there's passion behind risk. If that's a 60-hour experience or a 10-hour experience. If it's a 3-hour movie or if it's an hour 45. That's why games like the Dragon Age trilogy, Baldur's Gate 3, among many others, are so incredibly groundbreaking and inspiring to me personally. You can't phone something like this in. It has to come from the heart, like all good things in life. If you stuck around this long, just know I love you. This is also an allegory for my YouTube channel, by the way.